The American Girl of the Year line has been around since its debut of Lindsey Bergman in 2001. Since then, it has become a staple in any doll collector's collection, seeing that these dolls are traditionally only available for a year. Let's briefly go over each girl. Lindsey Bergman, the original Girl of the Year, is an animal enthusiast and is described as funny and good-hearted. Kaylee Hopkins, released in 2003, is a California girl who loves the beach and is passionate about the environment. Marisol Luna, released in 2005, is a Latina girl who faces difficulties when her family moves. She practices traditional Mexican-style ballet. Jess McConnell, released in 2006, is half Japanese and half Irish. She's interested in nature, specifically archaeology. Nikki Fleming is 2007's Girl of the Year, who is an animal enthusiast and is described as responsible and compassionate. Mia St. Clair is a girl with the dream of becoming a professional figure skater and was released in 2008. Krista Maxwell was released in 2009, along with her two friends, Gwen and Sonali. Krista struggles with finding friends at her new school. Lainey Holland was released in 2010 and loves gardening and all things nature. Kanani Akina is of Hawaiian Japanese and French German descent and loves swimming, photography, and business. She was released in 2011. McKenna Brooks, released in 2012, is a girl who loves gymnastics but struggles when she suffers an injury. Sage Copeland has a passion for art and horseback riding. She was released in 2013. Isabel Palmer is a dancer who suffers with performance anxiety. She was released in 2014. Grace Thomas, released in 2015, loves to bake and is greatly inspired by France. Leah Clark, released in 2016, loves photography and animals and travels to Brazil. Gabriella McBride, released in 2017, loves to dance and writing poetry, but suffers with a stutter. Luciana Vega, released in 2018, is of Chilean descent and is described as creative and impulsive. She loves STEM and science. Blair Wilson, released in 2019, is a farm girl who loves to take care of the animals on her farm and suffers with lactose intolerance. Joss Kendrick, released in 2020, loves to surf and was born with hearing loss, so she wears a hearing aid in her right ear to assist her hearing. Kira Bailey, this year's Girl of the Year, is passionate about saving wild animals, specifically in Australia, where her aunts own a wildlife park. Each Girl of the Year has one main passion that is the basis for their stories, but also the girls face some sort of challenge along the way. I think that this aspect of the Girl of the Year line is great, showing problems that we may inevitably face one day, and how it is resolved. The thing that I'm not crazy about is how repetitive these passions become. 3 of the girls love dance, and 8 of the girls have a passion related to nature or animals. The one who clearly sticks out is Luciana, who has an interest in STEM, which in traditional ways is not something that girls are into. I think this was a pivotal moment for American Girl, but they took 2 steps backward after releasing Blair Wilson, a stereotypical, in terms of American Girl's patterns and interests for the Girl of the Year collection, girl. Now, let's take a look at the challenges the girls face. Don't get me wrong, bullying is a huge and prevalent issue in today's society, but I don't think that it takes more than one doll to get that point across. It's an issue that's highly talked about when compared to more stigmatized issues. For example, I think that Joss's hearing loss was an amazing step for American Girl. They recognized a struggle that is not normally talked about and raised awareness. Another example would be Gabriella's speech impediment. I could imagine that the doll having this backstory helped many boys and girls feel more comfortable in their own skin should they be battling the same thing. The last thing I want to touch on is the obvious, the lack of representation. Marisol Luna, Gabriella McBride, and Luciana Vega are the only dolls of color that are not partially white. Jess is the only Asian American with at least half of her ancestry being from Asia, and she's 50% Japanese. Kanani is also partially Japanese. Gabriella is the only Black Girl of the Year. This makes the remaining 15 non-dolls of color. The disclaimer that I always make is the act of the heritage of these dolls being white is not the issue. It's the fact that American Girl has repeatedly ignored the people of color community when we say that we want more representation. It seems like we're always settling for the dolls that they put out. Not to mention, the only Black Girl of the Year so far is Gabriella McBride, who was previously a Truly Me doll and whose collection and story was extremely rushed and underdeveloped. We've given them ideas, but they don't seem to be taking any into account. Me being Vietnamese, I have yet to see a doll who represents me and my culture. I understand that there are areas outside of the Girl of the Year line where dolls of color can exist, but the fact of the matter is, the Girl of the Year line is probably the most anticipated line of American Girl, because it's a modern character who has a whole collection, story, and purpose. Millions of people anxiously await the arrival of the new Girl of the Year, and sales skyrocket when she does come out. The best place for representation inside the American Girl company is the Girl of the Year line. Girls and boys of all ages purchase the Girl of the Year doll regardless of whether or not they look like them. So what better way to teach inclusion than to represent the entire population of America, which consists of more than non-people of color who love the outdoors.